si bon nous préparer soleil. Regardez nous préparer soleil. Allez bon nous préparer soleil.
One word for voodoo.
One word for voodoo.
For voodoo, I think
power,
manifestation,
healing,
energy,
ancestors,
at home,
alive and understood and accurate.
peaceful.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. With full hearts and deep reverence, we are honored to share the next evolution of this sacred gathering. New Orleans National Voodoo Day became New Orleans International Voodoo Day. This shift in name reflects a truth we have always carried, that voodoo is both deeply local and profoundly global. Rooted in the rich soil of New Orleans and held in the hands of our community, our work continues to center the vibrant traditions, practitioners, and spiritual leaders right here at home. At the same time, we move forward with deep gratitude for the international ties that made voodoo in New Orleans possible. We walk in the footsteps of those who carried these sacred traditions across oceans, guided by the ancestors and shaped by generations of resistance, resilience, and ritual. This change is not a departure, it is a deepening, a fuller reflection of who we are and who we are becoming. We will continue to honor the local New Orleans voodoo community as the heart of this event while strengthening the sacred connections that stretch from Haiti to Benin and to the Pan-African diaspora. And we continue to show gratitude and thanks for your participation in our Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. weeknight Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time podcast on a social media platform near you or by way of our QR code at the top right corner of your screen, or you may use the URL that is now listed on your screen to bring you through the StreamYard system. And we're certainly grateful for your active participation and support. Elijah Dupois, thank you so much, beloved. Daniel Neal, faithful member of our community, we certainly appreciate you and yours. Ashley Anthony, greetings and salutations, and bonsoir to you and yours. Jeff Austin, we certainly appreciate your support and participation. And I'm thankful for my beloved co-host, the Queen Mother Sister Toni Val Martinez, community activist, Elder Reggie, we identify as Green Soap here, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, also a faithful member and co-administrator for NOIVD. And certainly we are appreciative of those of you who wish to join us by way of the QR scan at the top right of the screen or by way of the StreamYard URL. We are continuing our conversation about ancestral work and divination, particularly as it relates to generational curses, shadow work, breaking ties and entanglements, and enhancing that information which is encoded in our DNA memory, which is to our best benefit and is passed down generationally. Understand you are not just healing for yourself. Every chain you break, every pattern you break, every curse you shatter, every shadow you integrate, every trauma you transform ripples back through your lineage and forward into future generations. Generational trauma isn't just a psychological concept. It's written in your cells, woven through your nervous system, and alive in your unconscious patterns. Generational trauma passes through, as we shared on yesterday's episode, epigenetics, attachment patterns, family systems, and unconditional modeling. Breaking inherited patterns requires recognizing them, understanding their origin, and making conscious choices. Common inherited shadows include money scarcity, relationship patterns, emotional repression, and cultural trauma. Particularly in my house, ancestral work and divination, I sometimes refer to as three-tiered or three-generational mapping, helps visualize how patterns skip generations and manifest differently across time. Healing your patterns interrupts the transmission to the next generation, even if you do not have children, for there is our physical, biological blood lineage. There's also our spiritual, energetic lineage. So generational trauma, also called transgenerational or intergenerational trauma, refers to trauma that is passed from one generation to the next. And this isn't just learned behaviors or family dynamics. It's about how trauma literally changes our biology and gets transmitted through our genes, attachment patterns, and family unconscious. Recent research in epigenetics has shown that trauma can alter gene expression in ways that are passed to children and grandchildren. The descendants of Holocaust survivors, for example, show genetic changes related to stress regulation. Imagine what the footprint of transatlantic slave trade and the Middle Passage has left. The children of famine survivors show altered metabolism. Trauma doesn't just affect the person who experienced it, it echoes through generations. But generational trauma isn't just biological, it's also physiological, cultural, and spiritual. It lives in family stories and in silence, in what can and cannot be expressed, in the roles family members must play in the shadows that entire family systems create to survive. I've shared on many accounts of my meeting my adult siblings who have had little, if not any, contact or experience with their father whatsoever. And they often demonstrate mannerisms of him to a greater degree than I do, who grew up in the same household with him. So epigenetics shows us that trauma can alter how genes are expressed without changing the DNA sequence itself. These changes can be inherited. And when your grandmother experienced severe stresses, it may have altered the expression of genes related to stress response. And these alterations were passed to your parents and then to you. And this means you might have heightened stress responses, anxiety, and depression that did not originate from your own experiences, but from your ancestors' trauma. And you're not just dealing with your own shadows, you're carrying your lineage's shadows. Attachment patterns are powerfully transmitted across generations. A mother who experienced abandonment will parent from that wound, creating insecure attachment in her child, who then parents from that insecurity, perpetuating the cycle. And each generation thinks they're doing better than the last. Call it selective memory, but without conscious healing, they're just expressing the same wound differently. Families have a collective unconscious, just like society has a collective unconscious. Shared shadows, secrets, and patterns that operate below awareness. What one generation cannot express or represses or blocks becomes the next generation's unconscious material. The grandmother's unspoken grief becomes the mother's depression and becomes the daughter's anxiety. The trauma travels, shape shifting, but never truly healing until someone, often the generational curse breaker, often the black sheep of the family, does the conscious work. And as I prepare to bring in and unmute my beloved co-host, thank you so much, Brother Joshua, for joining us. And thank you, everyone in Instagram and Facebook, also for listening and joining us. Attachment patterns are powerfully transmitted across generations. And again, a mother who experienced abandonment will parent from that womb, creating insecure attachment in her child, who then parents from that insecurity, perpetuating this cycle. So there is this family unconscious. Families have a collective unconsciousness, shared shadows, shared secrets and patterns that operate below awareness. What one generation cannot process becomes the next generation's unconscious material. The grandmother's unspoken grief becomes the mother's depression and becomes the daughter's anxiety. And again, the trauma travels. There is war and conflict trauma. Survivors of war often pass down hypervigilance, emotional numbing, survivor guilt, and inability to feel safe. My grandparents on both sides of my family would be a product of the what they call the silent generation, coming out of World War I and World War II, also referred to as the Great Depression, creating this inability to feel safe, which shows up in how they handled their finances, often how they orchestrated and organized their homes, etc. And their children may experience anxiety, difficult trusting, or free love, which we experienced in the 60s and the 70s, and forced integration and a sense of impending doom without understanding why. My mother's generation, the 40s going into the 1950s and even the early 60s, had these these crisis raids in the classroom under the threat of Russia or communist attack. And so the alarms would go off and they would have to hide under their desks, creating generational trauma. Immigration and displacement. Families who immigrated, especially under traumatic circumstances, often pass down identity confusion, survival mode mentality, fear of authority, and profound grief for what was lost. We saw this mirrored in the behavior of um, John Amos, who played the father on Good Times, who was the older version of Kunta Kinte in the TV movie adaptation of Roots, and so that that sense of traumatic experience being passed down, identity confusion. They had to beat Kunta Kinte out of him to get him to temporarily, or at least on the surface, embrace Toby. And of course, the survival mode, which kept him constantly seeking to escape, and then passed that down to, I believe, Chicken George. Chicken George was his son, right? Queen Mother, you'll correct me on that.
Chicken George was his grandson.
His grandson.
Kizzy was his daughter.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the poverty and scarcity. Thank you for clarifying that. Just a few more. Poverty and scarcity. Generational poverty creates scarcity mindset, hoarding behaviors, inability to receive, and a deep shame about worth and deserving. Even when financial circumstances improve, the poverty shadow often remains. We see that with successful athletes and entertainers who, squander their blessing and to some degree their privilege. MC Hammer would have been a good example of that. Certainly addiction and mental illness. Families with addiction or mental illnesses often pass down shame, secrecy, chaos as normal. Parentification of children, making the children the adults, and inability to feel or express emotions safely. Abuse and violence, physical, sexual, or emotional abuses, create shadows of powerlessness, body shaming, internalized body shaming, what we say to ourselves about ourselves, fragmented identity, and cycles of victim perpetuator dynamics that repeat across generations. So in our next episode tonight, we'll get a little bit more into how generational trauma shows up in your life, unexplained symptoms that you might be experiencing. And please do come on in, Queen Mother, Sister Toni Val, Brother Joshua Nylan Tanner, my armor bearer, Black Hawk Voodoo Wildman, First Priest, and also a faithful initiated member of the Source and NOIVD, and Elder Reggie Green. So please do come on in, leader of Shrine of the White Cloth, faithful member and administrator for NOIVD. Please do come on in. Greetings and salutations.
Greetings, everyone. Mm-hmm.
Good day, everybody. Good day. Good evening.
Elder Reggie, you wanted to add something?
I was saying greetings to everyone. Yeah, great topic. But I'll go ahead on and speak on it. I kind of like this topic tonight versus generational curse because of trauma that's impacting family from years gone by and even today. Knowing with a curse, someone got to specifically put it on a family. But the trauma of lynchings, the trauma of the Ku Klux Klan raids, and just systemic racism throughout the system has a deep impact on the psychic of African Americans and others due to trauma. And I like this topic tonight.
Yes, very, very interesting topic. And I'm on my biological family side. My grandmother, who was sensitive, she was a reader and a root worker. It was told to me they don't have a lot of boys in our family. Our family is basically a female family. I have 12 sisters and one brother by the same mother. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. Women run in our family. But it was said that my grandmother would make the comment that the boys in our family wasn't right, that they had problems, the males in the family. I don't know if she knew this from before, when one of her, I guess it would have been one of her uncles was killed, and then she had a brother who killed another brother. Then I have my brother who is on medication. I have my son who's on medication. I had a grandson who was on medication and a grandson who need to be on medication. I have nephews, not too many because my sisters didn't have a lot of kids. I have the most kids in my family for one sibling, and that's 4 by birth. My sisters had 1 or 2 children. And my sister Nikki is next. I think she got 4 girls, all girls. But some of her grandchildren, I think she just got 2 boys. One of them needs medication. Could that be from, just trauma passed down through the male line?
It certainly can.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah, and it could be passed down from your mother, or certainly from 3 generations up of her parenting.
Yeah, because it looked like with my grandmother's father's side of the family. But at any rate, from knowing that, well, I could always look at the children in my family, boy or girl, because some of us got something going on. And I can look at him and would say in my head, that boy ain't right. When he was 2 years old, I could look at him and say, that boy ain't right. And I end up being correct because I lived long enough to see them grow into their personalities. But yeah, my sister told me that. She was like, well, grandma told us the boys in the family is not right. And I'm like, well, ain't it funny we don't even have a lot of boys in the family? We don't have a lot of boys in the family. Like, my son has no girls and 4 boys, and that is a miracle to my sisters and them. They like, actually, no girls? Like, nope, he got 4 boys. That's how I'm an early grandmother. From them
Yeah,
4 boys.
much respect though. I like to just add to that with that situation of trauma. So when I drive around the city of New Orleans, in other cities I've been to, I always notice black males congregate to street corner grocery stores, laundering and things like that. I always prided myself not to do that, to hang on the corner, but also me being an inquisitive person, I wanted to know why they do this. And I remember having a conversation with my mother before she passed. And she said part of it was what they call the welfare state. And there came a point in time when it was opening up welfare, meaning houses and things of that nature. And when they do the inspection, a male could not be in the home. So some of the men, if they had a job, or if didn't have a job, they would just find ways to occupy themselves throughout the day, and then toward the evening or 7 come back home. And I think that trauma and other traumas built on it until it even shows up today, where there's just a lot of shiftless black men. I've talked and engaged with them and tried to get them into certain programmings. but it falls on deaf ear. I don't have a word for it, and I don't quite understand it, but I am labeling that part of the trauma experience of being in America.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that
That
is
that's very
interesting.
interesting. But
I also think that might be something. It might have something to do with the fact that most of these, I mean, the society that we live in now is a lot different. Um, the initial trauma that our communities have faced, and how generationally in the past, before this country was in existence, how things were, how men traveled, traded, hunted, migrated, and came back home with goods and services or whatever. I think you got the guys on the corner. They on the corner doing whatever they may be doing on the corner. But at the end of the day, you see they're out there either looking for work or trying to find work or either talking to each other, gathering information. It's a lot of things that do happen on that corner, on our corners. But I think it has been happening for such a long period of time that it might be just in us to do it, to be able to gain the resources that we need to be able to continue to move forward. Also,
yeah, I looked at it as there once was a time when men really didn't associate on a daily basis with women, and they grouped together at certain places. At one time, maybe it was under the old oak tree or the old magnolia tree, or they gathered on a fish pond to share information. Past the time when they got off their jobs, they went and sat because at home the woman was cooking. I mean, women gather around the kitchen table when the husbands are gone, and women gather the same way men gather outside when you have a neighborhood like that. But the only thing is, we tend to gather on the porches and inside the house where we trade recipes and talk about our husbands and talk about baby ailments and how to cure them and stuff. And I think with all this modernization and all the trees and stuff are gone, all the places that they could gather peacefully, it only leaves the one place they come across each other, and that's basically at the corner store because they going in there getting a drink of beer after work or going in there and getting a cold drink after work, and they see each other and they stop there to talk. You know, lately
But I
when
also,
drugs,
Sister Val,
uh-huh,
I also think it's cultural though, going all the way back to the continent,
yes,
because we see that demonstrated even today in our neighborhood. Now we have the Lafitte Greenway. Some of you may or may not be familiar. It's very easy to pull up on Google Maps. It used to be a project that was torn down and then repurposed to create this activity, athletic, outdoor, public free space. And then there are other smaller parks and sitting areas around the neighborhood to include Congo Square and Armstrong Park. Yet we have a group of men, mostly, I would say, 50 and over, who gather around a barrel standing underneath the I-10 overpass and play dominoes every day, sometimes until to the wee hours, of the morning.
chess,
So I think
they
there's
play
a
chess.
cultural, yeah, there's a cultural memory there, I believe, where women did govern the house, if you will, or the hut, and men were more communal in their gathering and support of one another, and then that of the village. And there was a certain delineation of labor or division of labor that was not necessarily gender based, but allowed for individuals to operate in the space that they were most efficient and effective at. And it created a dynamic that I believe we carry until this day, no matter where we are.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. And then when the drugs came into play and the younger generation started taking over the corner, like Elder Reggie said, it became kind of a bad thing with them standing on the corner and cursing and shooting and fighting and everything because they had then turned that into their little store where they would sell their drugs. I think in the last few years, what was once a good thing for men, because remember, they used to get together. That's where we get ribbons from, when the men came together and joke and laugh with each other in groups like that. But I think starting in the 80s, when certain drugs came out and they needed to be in the crossroad places, they ended up taking over the corner. And now, when we see them on the corner, we turn our noses up because we know what pretty much goes on there. Like you said, they've even run the elders from the corner stores to under the overpass around barrels. And they don't have very many parks in the city, for them to go sit under the tree and stuff like that. Because our hoods don't really follow around our big parks. And
Right. But what I was trying to go ahead, Sister Toni.
go ahead.
Yeah, what I was trying to touch upon, coming out of the 60s after the civil rights movement, and it went into what's called this welfare state. Low income housing came into subsidies with the different projects in some of the neighborhoods. And the federal government under that time, under J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO, they was at war with the black male. And when these home inspections, as my mother was a social worker, and I had these questions I would ask her, and she said, the men and some of the boys, if they wasn't in college or high school, when the inspectors come out, they could not be seen in the homes, and if they wasn't working, because there was a two-pronged attack. There was not a lot of jobs for a lot of black men. There just was not. If they was qualified, they wasn't getting hired. You almost have to be overqualified to get a job. So you just found yourself in like a just displacement zone. And I understand social cohesion of the men coming together and talk and things of that nature. But after the 60s, it was a war on the black community. And we seen some of these things and the trauma impact from that still lingering around today.
Yeah, a perfect movie that would show you just exactly what you're talking about. In case anyone would like to go look it up because they wasn't in that era, it's called Claudine, and
Hello.
it stars James Earl Jones
Yeah.
and Diane
It
Baker. What was
stars
her name?
Diane Carroll.
Yeah,
Diane
Diane
Carroll.
Carroll. Yeah, and
Thank you, Divine
good.
Prince.
That's good for some of the younger viewers who didn't come in that era to see exactly what we're talking about and the war that was waged on the black male.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and there also they had the generational um curses in there because they touched on that also with the way the main male character felt about women in relationships and the female black and her sons and daughters. So that's a good movie. It's called Claudine.
Right
And
here.
it's very good and very entertaining, mostly all black cast, except for the social workers.
Elder Reggie, you touched Elder
Yes.
Reggie, you touched on something that I thought it was very poignant, which is on like the welfare state and how did we get here. And while you were talking, I was like kind of like looking at some of the things going all the way back to like slavery, right? We gotta go back and front. Some of the things I found in my research on like some of the methods that slave masters used on slaves are still very entrenched now, and that kind of gets into like generational trauma. Some of the methods that slave masters used were forced separation by sale, elimination of legal marriage, sexual violence, forced breeding, language and cultural suppression, creation of hierarchy, constant surveillance, right? Extreme physical punishment, system of control and fear, collective punishment, things that we're still going through to this day. So from slavery to Jim Crow, the welfare state, and now the prison industrial complex. And this system is the issue. How do we unravel the system and the systemic oppression that's put in place on our people, especially being less than 17% of the population? You know, we're talking about passing down generational trauma, while other nationalities are talking about passing down generational wealth. You know, we're so far behind trying to deal with in the past and then trying to validate to why we are here today, but like we're still trying to catch up in a race. You know what I mean? As Black people, I'm a young Black person, Black male. I'm college educated, but like but even in our circles, right? In like the educated class, there's a rule called like the 3 times rule, right? I gotta be 3 times as qualified to get half of the pay. Every day, I am probably one, if not the only one, or one of a few of people who look like me, who have my hue, who have my skin color, and I bust my butt just to even be able to speak in boardrooms, and I run circles around my coworkers, and we still go through these things to this day. And sometimes I wonder, how do we, bring back like the Tulsa, Tulsas, and like how do we create these meccas? How do we invest in ourselves to catch up with some of our other brothers and sisters, Black, brown, yellow, or whatnot? So I just wanted to touch on that, like the systemic issues, but like how that connects to where we are now. It might be eras might change, but it's the same tools and the same methods that keep us in where we are right now, the same bondage. And how do we break that?
I got some ideas, but I can't say them.
Don't say it on here, because this Project Esther and that Palantir stuff, and I'd be worried about everybody.
Like I say, I got some ideas, because we would have our generational wealth, but every time we built ourselves up, another group of people came to tear us back down again, because we were actually surpassing them.
Yeah.
We were surpassing them. And it's always going to be, as long as this system is in place, as long as those people, we're going through some trauma right now that's traumatizing some people by them saying nobody's getting food stamps in November. You got a lot of anxiety going on right now in Black households, and the children pick up on that. And this in the future is going to create hoarders.
Well said, Sister Toni. That's a new impact of trauma on a whole new generation.
Yeah.
And Elijah, you was right on point with it. We might call it the last, might be called welfare state, but let's say 20 years from now, it may give it another name, but it's still the same monster being blowing fire on a group of people. Same thing, and it's happening. Right now, we know since January 1st, there's been over 400,000 people of color been displaced from their jobs. These jobs had them in the middle class sector of America, taxpayers giving back food, gas, shelter. Those jobs are gone. Those people are struggling, and some of them took on sustenance and assistance, and that is cut off because the government is shut down. This is some serious trauma that is going down right now as we speak.
There is a serious attack right now on Black women. I love Black women, and I support them. I support my mothers and aunts. But if you recall, in the last 8 years, but in the last 4, we used to say Black women are most educated. Black women magic. Black women are most educated. Da 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 da. They were listening. And this was a targeted plan to attack Black women. The number one employer of educated Black women was the federal government. And they took a chainsaw to hack that away, because that was the backbone, quote unquote, of the Democratic Party, of the Black family. And so this was systemic, because we revealed our hand of how important the Black woman is. And so what they did was they put them back in their place, so to speak. And here we are.
And then you
Mhm.
had speakers like Charlie Kirk out there calling Black women ignorant and helping other people echo his words and help chop us down. Me being a Black woman in the workplace and working in a field that was mainly male in security when I started in the 80s, they barely had one or two women on the police force, let alone working for a private security company. And
Mm.
it was a fight. And when I mean fight, it was some stuff.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it also speaks to why I have, really committed my life to the vocation of voodoo, because, regardless of whether we have, um, economic change and development, address housing and address education and all these things, we're going to have to change how we think about ourselves, about God, about each other, and about our sense of personal empowerment. And so it really
Mhm.
speaks to why I, stay in my lane, which is the vocation involving spirituality, culture, and religion around voodoo.
Mhm.
And I
Go ahead.
think the unity of our grandparents had during the bus strikes that lasted for years, where they walked miles to get to the job and refused to catch the bus and found other ways of transportation. The strikes on stores that would not hire Blacks, so we wouldn't shop there. Honestly, I don't think we could do that today.
Mm.
I don't think
Mhm.
our people, to me, and I say it all the time, they've become very selfish,
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yep.
very petty, and I don't think we could get that unity. I really don't, that we actually need.
I support that. I definitely agree with you, Sister Toni. We have penalized education. We've made good guys suckers, quote unquote, and bad guys the go-to hot thing. We've lost community. And so one thing I definitely want to hope that everyone does in this time is, if you can, please support, Black businesses, brown businesses. If you can, donate food to as spiritual leaders, try to help your communities as
Mhm.
much as possible and try to tie us all back together. That's something I've been doing all this week, today, dropping off cans and food, whatever I can. I don't got it like that, but like if we each do a little bit to help each other, that's one more bite in someone else's mouth.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
well, well said, Elijah. Right quick, then I'm sorry to cut you off, Sister Toni. And my
no,
heart and mind go out and to what happened in Jamaica. I had first thing I did was to go to Red Cross. I wanted to make a donation, but then
no.
I seen on Instagram they said don't do that because these nonprofits pops up and that money don't go where it need to go. But I think, like you're saying, in the local area, you can probably be more effective.
Yeah, Red Cross messed over Katrina victims. They definitely messed over the Haitians after the big earthquake in 2005.
Mm.
I studied them for a long time and how much money their CEO get every year, and how they took money that was earmarked for Katrina victims and decided to use it to save some elephants in India. I mean,
Mm.
it's a lot of information out there on the Red Cross. Um, that I put that on my Facebook page. Be careful who you giving your money to. They got a lot of scammers out there. You have to do the research and look hard to find who you're gonna give your money to. But definitely do not give it to the Red Cross.
Let's look at some of these churches too. I know a lot of our community donates a big hefty amount of their money to tithes. And my God, some of these pastors are driving around in Mercedes, have private jets, and some of these videos of like giving $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. this money needs to go back to the congregation during this time. And if a church is passing around that collection plate, they are not of the spirit.
Mm. Good point. Good
No,
point.
I saw where the lady with her little son gave the preacher like $1,200,
Yes.
and he was mad because he told a congregation he said $2,000. I saw another one where the minister said lock the doors, told the ushers to lock the
Yes.
doors. Nobody
Yes.
wasn't leaving until everybody came up. He needed $40,000.
Mm.
Now I know me and Ty couldn't have been in that church. Because for one thing, they would have had to call the police by the time we got finished beating the hell out the ushers and kicking the door in.
ATM at the door, walk out the door.
But I mean, it is getting ridiculous. What I did after Belize had a big hurricane and nobody was getting anything on it. I had a friend that lived in Belize, and he told me what they needed. And one thing they was short on was plus size women clothes. And I said, "Well, I got you, boo." So me and my daughters grabbed stuff. My daughter still had price tags on stuff. He was coming in town. Other people was helping him. Now I know, if you can know somebody that's in Jamaica or have family in Jamaica living there, to reach out to them and find out what they suggest and what they know is going on before you actually start giving too much. And I
Okay.
know that a lot of the reggae artists are coming up strong. They coming up strong in their donations also. So you have to do your research when it comes down to making any kind of financial donations for any disasters, but especially there. And they really got the brunt of it, but Cuba also needs some help, and that's gonna be kind of hard, but I'm guessing Russia gonna help them out. The
And of
Hey,
course,
communist
hey,
Haiti,
countries.
and of course, Haiti still stands in need of assistance. We have some members in Haiti right now who are in the care of at least a dozen or more children. So we continue to accept support for Haiti, either myself or Elder Reggie.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
But we running out of time again,
Yeah.
y'all, and I'm gonna turn it over to Elder Reggie. Tomorrow night is Halloween. Will we be having a show tomorrow night?
Um, we don't have to if you all are not going to be available. I mean, I certainly could.
But I'm not gonna be available. You know what I got to do.
Okay.
Grandkids detail to go help them go trunk and treat and tricks and trade and whatever else they doing out there. But
Not tricks and
Well, I'll
trade.
cover.
I don't know. Trunk and trunk.
Yeah.
Trick and trunk. I don't know something my daughter going to, but anyway, she need help. So that means I'm pushing the baby stroller.
Well, hopefully not trick
Mhm.
And I want to thank A Seat at the Table Catering and Instagram. Clip King 85 joined us. Reverend Priestess Son Funke joined us. Thank you so much. Just Shy joined. Strong Queen C, thank you for coming by. Lion Brace 1974. A Marie 1920. Judake's Story. I hope I'm saying that right, beloved. The Holistic Diva, thank you for coming through. Mrs. Watson's Woke, we appreciate you. Goddess of Rap. Jade's Law or Jade's Law, thank you for coming by. JACQLBC, thank you for coming by. North Texas Home Health Service, we appreciate you. JL Curtis and Stacy Ben Bows, thank you so much for coming through tonight. We certainly appreciate you on Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. Like to read out a couple of advertisements before we close out. Come out and join us. Day of the Dead, Fete Gede celebration. It's going to be Saturday, November the 1st. Time 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Location, the Healing Center, 2372 St. Claude Avenue. It's at the corner of St. Roch and St. Claude in the New Orleans area. Please come out and support the event. And then second advertisement is we have a ritual prayer and application ceremony. It will occur on Wednesday, November the 21st in the sign of Scorpio. That address is 710 Cluid Street. It's called the Cluid Gardens. It's a ritual spiritual warfare gathering. Please come out and support that event also if you're local. Lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. On that social division tonight was a good lesson, a good class. And we appreciate you, Divine Prince. And we do appreciate all you guys in the collective audience that come every night and support us. And then plus the guest hosts, we love you. With that, I say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Good night, everyone. And we love you all.
All is a
Good
blessing.
night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Odabo.
Aussi crier, t'élever la mort, maman Brigitte a mouillé levé. Crier, va lever la mort. Eh, Jao, oh. Crier, va lever la mort. Aussi crier, t'élever la mort. Oh, aussi crier. T'élever la mort, maman Brigitte a mouillé levé. Crier, va lever la mort. Lever la mort, si crier, lever la mort. Si crier, lever la mort, maman Brigitte a mouru levé. Crier, pas lever la mort.
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yeah, I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your game. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit West. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.